Welcome to KeyboardBlues.com. This video is a quick overview of some of the highlights from the piano lesson series titled Blues for Piano and Keyboard, Chapter 15. Blues Chapter 15. There is a lot of stuff to study in here. We're going to study 18 brand new blues riffs, and these are really advanced riffs that build on everything the previous blues chapters have taught. So if you've gone through and nailed down the concepts in chapters 1 through 14, you're ready for everything in this lesson. In addition to learning 18 brand new blues riffs, we're going to explore some concepts that we haven't even touched on yet. Specifically, we're going to look at something called anchor points. This is the best way to lock down some really difficult phrases. If you ever get to the point where you wonder, how am I ever going to get my hands together on this? Or how am I going to make this phrase fall right rock solid in the rhythm? Once you get the concept of learning to use anchor points, your confidence as well as your playing will improve dramatically. To begin, let's go through the song that we're going to use in this lesson. Now you're going to recognize this. When I play this up to speed with the full blues band, you're going to say, hey, that's the introduction video that you use on all your lessons. True. I have never used it in a lesson because the riffs in here are really quite advanced, but we're going to nail them note for note in this lesson. So I'm going to play through this a couple times, and I'll play through the full song up to speed with the band. Then we'll slow it down and give the band a break, and I'll strip it down to just piano at about half speed. So you'll see the whole thing isolated on the piano nice and slow the second time. But first, here's the whole thing up to speed with the band. That's absolutely so much fun to play. Let's go right into the lesson now. You've already seen me play the entire song with the band up to speed, and that's so much fun. But now let's start to break it down. I'm going to give the band a break, and I'm just going to play only piano in about half speed, so you'll see it all the way through nice and slow. And then for the remainder of the hour, we'll go through all 18. Since this video is just an overview of the highlights from Chapter 15, I'm going to jump ahead in the lesson now. I'm going to jump to the portion of the video where we're going through each of the riffs. There's 18 of them in here, all quite advanced. But we go through all of them up close and personal, nice and slow, and we detail not only the riffs, but the theory and the concepts behind them. Here's a couple video samples from those sections. Riff number 3, 2 hands, nice and slow. The left hand is going to have to be played up an octave because you can't see it. Normally it's here. So I'm going to play it up here where you can see it, but nice and slow. Now it starts pretty simple, right? 1, 2. Some sliding or some grace notes going on the right hand. You're familiar with that. But for the remainder of the riff, the right hand is squeezing in a lot of notes in between the beat, like this. To really help facilitate get the timing down, I'm going to show you something called anchor points. Anchor points are where the right and the left hand hit together. Now, since the left hand is pounding out the quarter notes, wherever the right hand hits with those quarter notes will be the anchor points. meaning the hands play together. Let me show you.
Here's the first anchor point. Here's the next.
Riff number 6, Up to Speed, sounds like this. Kind of interesting little riff. A lot of chords we're going through there. Look at that. G minor, E minor flat 5, A7 plus 5, and D7 sharp 9. Sounds like a calculus equation. Let's take a look at it in detail. The right hand has an entrance of 7 squished little baby notes. And there's an anchor point there, right? And in the last measure, there's lots of hands together. And then a classic shake, borrowed from all the silent movies of the past. Riff number 9 is the old Jerry Lee Lewis, Great Balls of Fire. He was really famous for doing that, but way up here. If it's done too much, it can kind of get on your nerves, but once in a while, it's kind of a neat little touch. So riff number 9, let's look at it nice and slow. If you remember back to riff 8, it ended with a C7 chord, which was setting us up for riff number 9, which is over C. Immediately, the left hand grabs this fat comp chord. What is that? It's a C13 minus the root. You've got the 3rd, the 13th, the 7th, the dominant 7th, and a 9th, minus the root. Then it does a little move up to another chord, which is a D flat 9 chord, 3, 7, 9, and back. We studied that in a previous blues chapter. It's called the half-step push. Here it is with the root. In context, you're not really changing the chord of the whole measure to a D flat. You're just passing back and forth. That's actually my favorite little spot in the whole thing. It's kind of an angular little phrase with that A7 plus 5 down there. And it ends with a D7 sharp 9. Since the left hand is just sitting and holding that D7 sharp 9, the right hand really doesn't have an anchor point or a point where both hands play together very much. So it's really easy to get lost in your rhythm. Here's just a reminder. If you ever find you're in a situation where primarily just one hand is playing and you've got to play a lot of notes and fit them in and get the rhythm just right, and you don't have any anchor point where your hands play together to lock the rhythm to, here's the trick. Pick out an accented note to head for. Make that your goal. Watch this. So in between there's lots of little notes with lots of little rhythms. But I don't have to think about that. I just know where I'm headed. That's my goal. If I place that F in the rhythmic spot of the music where I want it to, the rhythm of all those internal notes will take care of themselves. This has just been a quick overview of some of the highlights taken from the piano lesson series titled Blues for Piano and Keyboard, Chapter 15. You can download the entire lesson at keyboardblues.com. In this website, there's a wealth of online piano and keyboard lessons that you can dig into right away, including this lesson.